Alright, finally, Robot Zelda. I would suggest that you guys try to understand Robot Zelda before I go through it. That will be quite useful for learning purposes. Alright? So go ahead, check out the code for Robot Zelda, and once you are done, hopefully you understand it, then we will carry on. Okay, Robot Zelda. Zelda's rules are here. Entries. This is as what we discussed in the previous lecture. Exits, sizing, amongst other things. Okay, we are not going to go through line by line for Zelda. We will do it this way. We will start with the entries, then the exits, alright? And the sizing will be part of the entry. Before we go on, some notes here. Note that we check for entries once a bar and not every tick. So let me explain why. Imagine two scenarios. Checking for entries on every tick versus checking for entries on every bar. So in every tick, we know we are looking for at least 2 deviations, one on each side. If we do it on every tick, the moment we have 2 deviations, one on each side, the trade will fire, and we know that we can only hold one trade at a time. Therefore, we will never have a trade that has more than 2 deviations. If we check it once a bar, we may not fire a trade the moment we have 2 deviations, but this gives us time to check in case there are more deviations coming up. So imagine if in a hypothetical scenario, there are 5 deviations that will appear. 2 appear in the first minute and 3 appear in the next minute. If we do it on every tick, we will only get the first 2 deviations. But if we do it on every bar, there is a high chance that we capture all 5 deviations. Alright? It's not a perfect method, but it's the method that we shall use for Zelda. Zelda has no hard stops or take profit attached to the orders. We can't exactly put a hard stop or take profit, because imagine if we have 2 positions and our stop is 1.5% losses. One leg of it might be losing 1,000 pips, but the other leg makes 1,000 pips. Therefore, our net P&L is probably equal. If we were to attach, say, a hard stop loss to both or one of it, then the trade will exit prematurely. So we can't put hard stops. Some of you might want to put a hard stop somewhere really far away, just in case the market goes crazy or the server that you're running your EA on dies, the computer dies or whatnot. I guess you can do that, but you're taking a risk. You might be exiting some or all of the legs prematurely. Alright? Let's start. We shall not go through the setup portion, setting up of the variables. The names are quite intuitive, I think, and I commented most of the variables, so it will all come in place eventually. Let's jump straight to the on-tick portion. Before we go to the entries, there are 2 things to do. Check if this is the start of the new candle bar, and to check if we have any open positions. If yes, what is our current profit and loss? Alright. New bar. We shall use time to tell us whether we are at the start of a new bar or not. Alright, so as usual, we begin with the end in mind, and in the end is this line. Is new bar true? So if its new bar is equal to true, we are at the start of a new bar. And its new bar is true when this happens. When last bar time is not equal to this bar time. Okay? So what is last bar time and this bar time? This bar time is the current bar's opening time. Last bar time starts from 0. So when the first tick, last bar time is not equal to this bar time. So we are on the new bar. Then we set last bar time as this bar time. Alright, on the second tick, we check for this. Last bar time will be equal to this bar time right now because we are still in the same bar. And once we jump to the next bar, this value, this bar time, is going to change thanks to this retrieving of the current bar's opening time. And once this change, this last bar time will not be equal to this bar time. This if statement will be true. This new bar will be true. And we update last bar time's value to this bar time. Okay, I know it may sound super confusing at the start, but take a while, pause the video if you need to, run through the whole thought process. Okay, on the first tick, this happens. Its new bar is false. Alright, it's always false on every tick. We restart it. Alright, first tick, what is this? It won't be equal. This happens. Next tick, so on and so forth. Alright, once you run this so-called loop a few times, you should be able to understand how does this portion work. So we need its new bar to tell us when it is the start of a new bar so we can fire our entries. Second part, check if we have any open positions. Alright, let's talk about this loop. This is where we can start explaining this. Right now we are looping through all open positions. So this will give us total positions -1 because the position index starts from 0. And then we use this function, position get ticket, to select positions. So position get ticket does two things. It selects the open position by the order they appear on, and it returns the ticket number. And the input is I. This I refers to the order in which this position appears in your list of orders. Alright? So once we use this, we will have selected a position and assign ticket number to its ticket number. If ticket number is 0, that means there's an error. So this is the error management part. Alright? We will not go through that. You should have seen that in Anna and Bella. So now that we have selected a position, we use position get integer with the input of position magic to tell us if the current position we selected is equals to our magic number. So this part might be confusing. What is selecting a position? When we say selecting a position, it's something invisible. You can't see it. Once position is selected here, all these functions will be used on the position that is selected. And the position that is selected is recorded behind the scenes, so you can't see it. Okay? So we check if the position is of this magic number. If yes, that means the position belongs to Zelda. And to set your orders to this magic number, go to the init portion, the on init portion, use this object function, set expert magic number. Okay, so if that is true, means we have at least one position from Zelda, and therefore its open position, this variable will be true. And then we do it over and over again. We loop every open position, and we use position get double to get the profit or loss of the current position, and we create a loop to add them up. This loop should look familiar to you. We have done something similar to this in coding practice 1. Here, alright? Summing numbers. Back to Zelda. Okay, so once we have summed this up, we will know what is the current profit and loss of all the trades that belongs to Zelda. We don't need this information now, but we will use it later for our exit rules. So we will skip the exits Remember, exits are always coded before entries.